What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. In this video, we're going to be talking about the risk and the rewards of a Kiefer Sutherland. Wow, I just about said Kiefer Sutherland. That's not who we're talking about. We're talking about Kiefer Sherwood, not Sutherland, Sherwood. Wow. Anywho, yeah, we're going to be talking about risk and rewards of a Kiefer Sherwood extension. Obviously, a few months ago when the Connor Garland, Thatcher Demko, and to an extent the Brock Besser extensions were signed. Obviously, Patrick Allvin mentioned that they were in early stages and early talks with Kiefer Sherwood and his camp on a extension. And as I mentioned in this video, we're going to be talking about what the risk and rewards are when it comes to a Kiefer Sherwood extension. Before we do that, as I always do, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that amazing artwork you see there behind me. And you guys can check them out yourselves at gassjackart.com. You can also find him on Instagram at Gassy Jack Art. I have a link to his website in the description down below. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at an article that discusses the risk and rewards of a Kiefer Sherwood extension. Obviously, this article is written by our friends at Canucks Army. And this article in particular is written by Stefan Roget. And he goes on to say, the term, quote-unquote, fan favorite gets thrown around a lot these days, but it's as true as it gets when applied to Kiefer Sherwood, not Sutherland, someone who throws himself around a lot these days. Few free agent signings have arrived in Vancouver and made the same immediate impact as Sherwood did in 2024-25. And if we're talking dollar value, then it's probably fair to say that no one has ever delivered such blatant bang for buck as did Sherwood at his $1.5 million cap hit. He posted career highs across the board with 78 games played, 19 goals, 21 assists, and 40 points. He also broke the single-season record for hits with 462, an absolutely preposterous number that was 156 hits ahead of the player in second place. Realistically, there wasn't anything more the Vancouver Canucks could have asked of Sherwood last season. And the best thing about it all, that contract he signed in the summer of 2024 was for 2 seasons, meaning the Canucks are going to get another year out of him at that same $1.5 million rate. But what about beyond that? Sherwood became eligible for a contract extension as of July 1st, 2025. That was the exact same point that Connor Garland and Thatcher Demko became eligible for their own extensions, and they signed on that day, but not Sherwood. Why not? Probably because any contract extension for him at this exact moment in time carries with it a high amount of risk and reward. Were the Canucks to enter into negotiations with Sherwood now, they'd be basing a lot of the talks on his most recent season. Those aren't exactly quote-unquote team-friendly talks. Sherwood had an amazing campaign that were he to have hit free agency this year instead, would have made him one of the most highly sought-after UFAs on the market. But how likely is it that Sherwood repeats such a season in consecutive years? It's a tougher call than it is with most. On the one hand, Sherwood broke out into 40 points after topping out with 27 the year before, and he did so with a 13.5 shooting percentage, which is more than 3 percentage points higher than his previous high. All this in the year he turned 30. That has all the markings of a one-time breakout or an anomalous season of production. It wouldn't be at all surprising for Sherwood's number to take a step back in 2025-26, nor would it be particularly surprising if he were to have a less fortunate run of health. Few players in this league put their body on the line more than Sherwood does, and it was fairly lucky for him to only miss 4 games last year in total. Any injury this year will seriously hamper his ability to replicate his numbers. So one can imagine what GM Patrick Allvin and company might be thinking. Sign Sherwood to an extension now, and you're paying for what is very likely the single best season of work in his career. Wait for a step back in 25-26. They'd instead be negotiating based on an average of 2 seasons in Vancouver. And that could lead to a more reasonable ask from Sherwood's camp. That's only the reward side of the risk/reward equation. And there's plenty of risks to consider too. Was the 2024-25 a breakout campaign for Sherwood? There's no doubt about that. But when it comes to predicting his sustainability, we must admit that Sherwood is anything but a typical case. He only arrived full-time in the NHL as of 2023-24. His past 24-25 campaign with the Canucks was the first time he'd ever been deployed with any regularity above the fourth line. On the one hand, it might look like Sherwood's play took a massive step forward this season, but on the other hand, maybe he's had this ability in him all along and was just waiting for the opportunity to show it. In a sense, that's kind of exactly his story with the Canucks. They saw him playing guts out against them in the 2024 playoffs for Nashville, and they signed him while presumably asking, hey, could you do that for a whole regular season? And then against all odds, it turned out that he could. So perhaps the step back in production and quality of play is not as guaranteed as they might be with a player with a longer track record. But then what happens if Sherwood repeats or even comes close to repeating his success in 2025-26 and the Canucks still don't have him under contract? Well, at that point, they either commit to an even more expensive extension or they lose him to free agency, probably the latter. Imagine the hype that would be placed on a UFA coming off 2 consecutive seasons of 20-ish goals, 40-ish points, and 400-ish hits, with the cap going up and the team to sign their own UFAs, resulting in a limited supply of quality free agents. One has to think that a more established Sherwood would receive some truly eye-popping numbers. And at that point, like with most UFAs, one will have to wonder how much more value they're going to get out of someone who just hit age 31. Really, it's a bit of a backwards risk-reward situation for the Canucks when it comes to extending Sherwood, and that the quote-unquote reward is that he comes back down to earth a bit in 2025-26 and is signable for a little cheaper, and the quote-unquote risk is that he doesn't and prices himself out of Vancouver. How many times have Vancouver Canucks fans heard that term? Even within that risk side of the scenario, however, the Canucks would get 1 more year out of Sherwood at his current $1.5 million rate, and no one could complain about that. This late in the summer, with training camp just weeks away, it seems as though the Canucks are going to embrace this risk/reward and quote-unquote wait and see on a Sherwood extension. Good thing then that fortune always favors the Vancouver Canucks. So there was that article. Very interesting, especially with the whole risk/rewards. Obviously, I'm a big Kiefer Sherwood fan, and obviously, I want the Canucks to sign Sherwood long term. Yes, last season was a bit of an anomaly. The way he broke out, and I'm not talking like the hits record, but the points that he put up was incredible. Do I want a either repeat or something even better this upcoming season? Absolutely. I would absolutely love that, as would most Canuck fans. I would really love to see Sherwood, be a mainstay on that third line, maybe on occasion pop up into the second line, maybe even the first line at some points, but I do hope the Vancouver Canucks do offer an extension to Kiefer Sherwood and that he is a Vancouver Canuck for years to come. So, but I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think about this article? What do you guys think about the whole risk and rewards of a Kiefer Sherwood extension? Do you think, a big risk is if Sherwood does produce and does have a similar season to that of last year. And when it's time for an extension, the Canucks aren't able to make a deal. And just what if Kiefer Sherwood walks in free agency, similar to how Brock Besser almost walked, similar to how Pius Suter essentially priced himself out of Vancouver. Once again, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find us on social media, as you can see on the screen there. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, as well as TikTok. Facebook, just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. Instagram, @The Line Change. X, @LineChangeVan. TikTok, @The TLC Podcast. One you can't see on there is Blue Sky. Yes, The Line Change is on Blue Sky now, @The Line Change. And feel free to give us a follow on not only Blue Sky, but all of our social media platforms. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated and really helps out the podcast. But that's going to do it for me in this video. As always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.